Hey folks, Rudy Wright here, and tonight I'm going to start playing Ironsworn Starforged, the upcoming science fiction solo RPG by Shawn Tomkin, and it's a follow up to um, his fantasy solo RPG Ironsworn, which I picked up all the two books and a bunch of the cards, the asset cards for it, sort of at the start of the pandemic, but I never actually got around to playing it. So Starforged, the new one, which seems to sort of streamline some of the rules and mechanisms from Ironsworn, is currently still on Kickstarter. Crushed it on Kickstarter, it's crushing it. It's like $250,000. For like an indie science fiction RPG, that's crazy. It's awesome. Um, and so he provided to backers at all levels a preview edition, which seems really um, full featured. And so I started to do some of the initial setup for it, and I'm just kind of go over what I uh, came to in that initial sort of world building part of the game before you actually start playing. And then next time I'll probably, when I have a little bit more time, I'll actually jump into character creation and then actually just start playing. I feel like if I could be held accountable to streaming it, then I'll actually get the games played because um, with solo RPGs, I've got a bunch. I picked up a bunch recently or over the past year or so, and I find it hard to actually ever get myself to do them, like the journaling RPGs and stuff. Um, it's fun to read them, but I never actually follow through and start playing. So hopefully this uh, will be the one that I actually played to some sort of completion. So I will just go. I'm gonna flip through the PDF for right now and kind of go through what I sort of came to the decisions I made in this initial setup the other day, and then kind of see what happens next in the game setup. So a little let's go through the very beginning of the book here just to sort of set it up a little bit. Um, so the basics. So I'll read this very first opening chapter paragraph, so it'll give you a little idea of what the game is going to be like. In Ironsworn Starforged, you are a spaceborne hero sworn to undertake perilous quests. You will explore uncharted space, unravel the secrets of a mysterious galaxy, and build bonds with those you meet in your travels. Most importantly, you will swear iron vows and see them fulfilled, no matter the cost. And it seems like it's going to be pretty good. It uses it's a system similar to a lot of Powered by the Apocalypse games. I could see why that would totally work as a solo RPG. Um, because like in most PBTA games, it's like you get into a situation and then you find a move that'll work to resolve that situation, and you roll your dice and just sort of roll with it from there. So um, it should be. It totally makes sense that it'll work. And then, people have been playing Ironsworn for a while and love it. And that game looks really good, but I just haven't actually. I've played lots of fantasy RPGs um, in my time, and I guess maybe that was why I wasn't as motivated to keep going with it or to get it started. I think I made a character, and I think I did some of the initial world building in Ironsworn, and then I don't think I had any intention of streaming it or recording it. So maybe that was what was missing to get me to push past it. Um, so with the basic setting for Starforged, let's look at some of the choices I had to make here at the beginning. And I am not good at flipping around through a PDF. So sorry for the just boring scrolling. So here's the section I want to kind of go over. Setting up your truths. Let's see here. So let's get to my truths here. There's actually a pretty good, I'm going to read this default assumptions. So before I set up my truths, I'll go through the default assumptions of the setting, and then from there, I'll try to explain why I chose what I chose. You could roll on these sort of like world building setup things, but I honestly just picked them because each category had usually one option that I really had no interest in playing. So I said, okay, let me just pick them. And I think even once or twice I might have combined a couple of options. And that, I'm not sure if I should have done that. I should have just made a hard choice and lived with it, but we'll see. Okay, so the default assumptions of the setting. Since science fiction is a genre full of possibilities, it's important to first establish some key pillars for how you'll envision your adventures in Starforged. The following points are all generally true and represent your default starting place. If you are working through this exercise with a group, read or summarize these points aloud. So yeah, you can play this sort of co-op, GM-less, and I don't know if that would really work with the people that I normally play with. We are pretty trad in our RPG games. Or you can play it like with a GM. But I think the appeal for me is the solo aspect, so that's what I'm going to go for now. Okay, so the default assumptions. This is a perilous future. 2 centuries ago, your people fled a cataclysm and settled a distant galaxy they called the Forge. This is a chaotic place full of dangers and mysteries. This is a lonely future. With some possible exceptions, which you'll identify as part of your own truths, humans are the only known intelligent life in this galaxy. Others once lived here, but only mysterious and perilous vaults remain to mark their legacy. And I'm kind of currently playing, not too currently, but Mass Effect and Andromeda, and so that one, it's pretty cool where you're sort of going to these different. It's very similar to this setup where you're in a whole new galaxy, and there's all these vaults from some ancient alien race that you're trying to restart and stuff. This is a diverse future. There's a vibrant mix of people and cultures among the humans of the Forge. This is a far-flung future. Settlements lie scattered and often isolated from one another. Your starship can travel at faster than light speeds, but it's ponderously slow at a cosmic scale. This is an unexplored future. Discoveries await. Even in settled regions, much of the Forge is unknown and uncharted. This is a wondrous future. The Forge is a galaxy of ancient mysteries, spacefaring creatures, startling phenomenon, and other marvels. This is a retro future. Envision the technology you wield as only slightly advanced over today's real-world technologies, or even a step back in some ways, which I really like. That's that whole thing with like Alien and, with the cool cockpits full of like flashing lights and old kind of computer syntax things. And this is a scavenge future. I've got a few more left. It's decaying, gritty, and used. Resources are scarce, and the people of the Forge cobble together what they can. This is an unjust future. Within the Forge, those in power hoard resources, control technologies, and impose their will on others through force or cunning. Life can be harsh for those who lack influence. And finally, this is a hopeful future. Despite these challenges, hope remains. Your sworn vows are a manifestation of that hope. Okay, so there's 14 categories of truths, and you sort of go through and pick between 3 different options, and then there's some sub-options within each of those. And that's going to really, I think it's a really cool way to sort of set up this sort of grand, big overview of how your universe is going to play and how it's going to work. So let's just start going through it. And I sort of have made these decisions already, but I'll kind of go through them again just in case I decide to change any of them. So let's go to the first one, Cataclysm. The three options for setting up what the big cataclysm was that our people fled are: the sun plague extinguished the stars in our home galaxy. The anomaly traveled at incredible speeds, many times faster than light itself, and snuffed out the stars around us before we realized it was coming. Few of us survived as we made our way to this new galaxy. Here in the forge, the stars are still aflame. We cling to their warmth like weary travelers huddled around a fire. I didn't pick that one, did I? Okay, I didn't pick that one. You know, that one is interesting, but it's a little too, like, that's like really gnarly. If all the stars in like the Milky Way are mostly like wiped out by something, I just thought that was too, just kind of too big and traumatic. We were united in the prolonged war against an implacable foe, but our defeat was at hand, is the second option. And the third option is everything fell apart in an age of chaos. And that one honestly felt too close to home to like our world today. That, and this third option is like um, the things you can sort of the crises that you could roll to see like what started this age of chaos are like the rise of a fascist power, the loss of key resources, a pandemic. It's like way too close to home. So I picked the middle option. We were united in the prolonged war against an implacable foe, but our defeat was at hand. With the last of our defenses destroyed, our hope gone, we cast our fate to the forge. Here we can hide, survive, and then I chose. Our foe was, what did I pick? We were united against. Oh, the last choice in ancient and malevolent entities, because I thought that was pretty vague, in a good way. You know, that could kind of be anything, and so I like that one. So that's what I picked. So for Cataclysm, uh, we're going with we were united in the prolonged war against an implacable foe, which is some ancient and malevolent entities, and that could be kind of fun to bring back some big bad aliens or something. Okay, so then the next truth we're going to choose is the Exodus. And I'll try to be quicker with these because there's a lot to read. And anyways, you could go back to Kickstarter and grab this yourself. I'm excited. I think I went all in on the Kickstarter. Like, it's not that much to go all in, but it was like a book, then a reference guide, and the PDF. Just, I think that's it. I don't think there was any other like physical rewards, but it seems pretty exciting. Okay, the Exodus. So our three options are, and I'll just read the bolded summaries, and then I'll read the bigger part of the one that I chose. When the Exodus fleet set off on a ponderous journey to a new home outside our galaxy, they marked the Forge as their destination. Countless generations lived out their lives aboard those titanic ships during the millennia-long passage. That's the first option. Number two, a ragtag fleet of ships, propelled at tremendous speeds by experimental FTL drives, carried our ancestors to the Forge. But the technology that powered the ships is said to be the source of the sundering, a fracturing of reality which plagues us here today. So with the first one, I didn't choose it. It's sort of this like these long like generation ships. It just didn't interest me that much. There's that old RPG where the ship's called Warden. Metamorphosis Alpha, which is a great idea. That's like one of the first sci-fi RPGs, if not the first one. And that whole thing is like one of these generation ships, or what do you call it? Like big colonizing ships. It like malfunctioned, and so all these people were on this ship kind of forget that it's a spaceship, and I think it's sort of like almost like a fantasy setting, like a medieval or even like older than that fantasy setting, but it's in reality it's on this big crazy ship. So there's like different sections of the ship are like different, almost like worlds and stuff like that. And there was this weird on YouTube you could find this Canadian sci-fi show that I just had heard about from the 70s, I think. I'm not going to remember the name, but it had a big name science fiction writer attached to it. Uh, was it Harlan Ellison? Um, and that's really similar to the Metamorphosis Alpha thing. It's like these like Amish people living in this weird community that a couple of them leave through this like mystical door, and they find out they're just on this big um, spaceship that's malfunctioned. And so I got through I think like 2 episodes, and it's pretty rough and dated. It's not even that it's dated; it's just like rough, but it had some pretty interesting ideas. Okay, sorry, that's too many tangents. The second Exodus thing, with where you're in this like fleet of ships and you cause this thing called the Sundering. I wasn't really interested in that. The Sundering sounds like if you're gonna kind of do this science fantasy stuff or kind of more weird science stuff, and you'll see some other choices in some of the other truths that sort of like play to that. And this is not what I'm interested in doing right now. So I would play in a game if somebody was running a game like that, but I don't want to invest my time into that. And so I chose the last option. Mysterious alien gates provide instantaneous one-way passage to the forge. In the midst of the cataclysm, our ancestors found a strange metal pillar on our homeworld's moon. A map on the surface of this alien relic detailed the deep space locations of the iron gates, massive devices which powered artificial wormholes. With no other option, the Exodus ships fled through the gates and emerged here in the forge. That's cool, man. I love Stargates in my sci-fi, so that's a pretty easy one to pick. Um, and I think I'll probably say like the iron that you swear on when you do your iron vows comes from like maybe this initial gate that everybody came through, and that sort of opens up also the possibility of once the game is going like um, there's a gate. You find a gate to a whole other world or part of space, or a gate back home. Okay, so we picked the Stargate sort of thing for the Exodus. Okay, so the third truth is communities, and I'll try to go faster than these. The first option: few survive the journey to the forge, and we are scattered to the winds in this perilous place. Second option: dangers abound, but there is safety in numbers. Many ships and settlements are united under the banner of one of the founder clans. And the last option is: we have made our mark in this galaxy, but the energy storms we call balefires threaten to undo that progress, leaving our communities isolated and vulnerable. And you'll kind of see this in a lot of these. That last one sort of seems like it's tied to the Sundering thing, 'cause it's about uh, weird energy storms. So I didn't go for that one. So I ended up choosing, excuse me, the one with the middle option. Many ships and settlements are united under the banner of one of the founder clans. We have a tentative foothold in this galaxy. Each of the 5 founder clans honor the name and legacy of a leader who guided their people in the chaotic time after the Exodus. Vast reaches of the settled domains are claimed by the clans, and territorial skirmishes are common. I thought that's a cool setup. 5 clans could be 5 factions. When you're kind of going through some of the later truths, there's stuff like hunters guilds, uh, like a like a mailman kind of guild, or and I could see just like tying each one of those other guilds to one of these clans, and sort of like just like quick and dirty faction play. So that's what I went for. That sounds pretty cool. Iron. So the first option for the Iron Truth is: iron vows are sworn upon the remnants of ships that carried our people to the forge. Iron vows are sworn upon totems crafted from the enigmatic metal we call black iron, and the Ironsworn bind their honor to iron blades. So for this one, I picked the Remnant ships one, but then I made a note here that because the ships, I'm not doing that thing where the ships traveled for like generations to get to this place. I'm doing the thing where we found gates and got through. So I'm going to say I'm doing the fragments of the gate instead of like the fragments of the ship. Um, this one's kind of up in the air, but this one is not like either. Whatever I picked, it's not too. Nothing is too. It's not going to change a whole lot, I don't think. But for now, yeah, that's what I'm going with is fragments of the gate. I mean, I guess I could do fragments of the ship, but I feel like if you just traveled through a gate that got you there pretty quick, you're not going to have this huge attachment, as opposed to if you took these generation ships that took like 500 years to get here. Okay, the laws. Much of the settled domains are a lawless frontier. Criminal factions and corrupt leaders often hold sway. Second one, laws and governance vary across settled domains, but bounty hunters are given wide latitude to pursue their contracts. Their authority is almost universally recognized and supersedes local laws. And then the last one, our communities are bound under the terms of the Covenant, a charter established after the Exodus. The organization called the Keepers is sworn to uphold the laws. Now I picked varying degrees depending on factions, Hunter's Guild. So I picked, which one had the Hunter's Guild? Okay, so I picked the second one. Laws and governance vary across settled domains, but bounty hunters are given wide latitude. Through tradition and through tradition and influence, the powerful Hunters Guild is given free rein to track and capture fugitives in most settled places. Only the foolish stand between a determined bounty hunter and their target. Now, it's not that I want to do like a heavy bounty hunter kind of campaign or game. I like The Mandalorian. That's a rad show, but I don't want to be space cops or space bounty hunters. So we'll see. But like the one with the Covenant didn't really appeal to me because that sounds. I don't know. It just has like it feels like it had too much built-in like lore that didn't come from myself. And then the one that's just like a lawless frontier. It's like that's like in every other RPG I play. So like, I'm thinking of like taking the Hunters Guild concept and tying them to one of those 5 founder clans, and you'll see later on there's a couple of other things that I'll tie to a different clan. So then it could be like drama between these guilds and clans and stuff like that. So yeah, bounty hunter. So look at the quest starter. I had made notes of the quest starters that sounded pretty interesting. I don't know what I'm going to do for a quest starter, but oh yeah, the one with the bounty hunters is fine. It's like a famed bounty hunter needs your help tracking down their quarry. What is your relationship to the fugitive? Do you swear to aid the hunter or the target? That's cool. Kind of basic, but that could be pretty cool. Next up is religion. And I just picked, so there's the our gods failed us, we left them behind one. There is our faith is as diverse as our people. And then the last one is 3 dominant religious orders. The triumvirate, battle for influence and power within the forge. And I picked our faith is as diverse as our people. The thing again, like with the triumvirate, like it's sort of like seems way too top loaded with lore that isn't something that's coming from me, so it's not really interesting me. And it also sort of like leans towards the space magic stuff, which I don't want to do in this game. And then the Art Gods failed this one. I don't know why I didn't do that one. I guess I picked the middle one just because it's kind of like, honestly, I guess I don't feel much connection to this particular truth any which way. So our faith is as diverse as our people. Many have no religion or offer an occasional prayer out of habit. Others pay homage to the gods of our forebears as a way of connecting to their roots. Some idealize the natural order of the universe and see the divine in the gravitational dance of stars or the complex mechanisms of a planetary ecosystem. And many now worship the primordials, gods of a fallen people who once dwelt within the forge. I think that might have been what interested me, the thing with the primordials. And that could sort of like, that made me think of the, what are those guys, the engineers in the Alien and Prometheus movies, or like in the first Mass Effect games, what were they called? Were they called? I forget what they were called, but the ones that left the little weird robots that were fixing up the main station in Mass Effect. I know in this there's something called Precursors, and I don't know if that's what Mass Effect called them. I can't remember. Anyways, religion, yeah. I kind of went for the most generic one, but I did like the idea of the primordials. The quest starter there. A cult seeks to take control of a site reputed to hold a primordial artifact. What holy object do they seek? Why are you sworn to stop them? That's pretty cool. So you can get into some cool sci-fi archaeology stuff, I guess. Next up, magic. I put in my notes says no magic. So the first option, magic does not exist. Second one, supernatural powers are wielded by those rare people we call paragons. I don't want to do that. Is that like Jedi? Probably, kind of. And then the last one, unnatural energies flow through the forge. Magic and science are two sides of the same coin. That's fine, but those sound like they tie back to some of those other options that were sort of like heavy with a built-in kind of lore, which I don't want to do. So I said no magic. Some look to superstition and age-old traditions for comfort in this unforgiving galaxy, but that is foolishness. What some call magic is simply a product of technologies or natural forces we aren't yet equipped to understand. That's cool. And not to say that I'm definitely going to have horror and weird stuff in this, but yeah, space magic, I have no interest in that with this game. Next up, communications and data. And this was a pretty big choice. So much was lost when we came to the Forge. It's a dark age. Information is life. We rely on a guild of spaceborne couriers, the Heralds, to transport messages and data across the vast distances between settlements. And then finally, in settled domains, a network of data hubs called the Weave allow near instantaneous communication and data sharing between ships and outposts. So I remember this one was a tough decision for me between the last two. And the one where it says we're in a dark age, I didn't want to do that. Like, I don't want them to be in a dark age. I don't want to play in a dark age. So I picked the second option with the Heralds. Direct communication and transmissions beyond the near space of a ship or outpost is impossible due to the chaotic energies of the Forge. Digital archives are available at larger outposts, but the information is not always up to date or reliable. Therefore, the most important communications and discoveries are carried by the Heralds, sworn to see that data to its destination. That sounded pretty cool. So that's so the Heralds is basically another guild that I'm going to tie to one of these founder clans, one of these factions. I like the quest starter a lot on this one. You discover a crippled Herald ship. The pilot, carrying a critical and time-sensitive message, is dead. Where was the message bound, and why do you swear to see it to its destination? See, that would be super fun to play like right now. So I put a big star around that quest starter. But see, I also like this one about the Weave, but that's okay. They were close enough where I just went for the one where you have to sort of use these people as go-betweens to get the messages and stuff sent and communicated and stuff. So I thought that was interesting. So it's like a little bit of the lack of information sharing, but then there's still some of it there. And I just finished reading the John Scalzi interdependency series of books, and that one was really cool with the way I think that had a sort of a similar thing where you had to get your messages and your information to these sort of I think that was in that book series. I think you had to like basically space travel was this through this thing called the flow, which were like sort of space lanes that you would basically jump into the flow, and then it would take maybe a couple of months to get to your destination. So there would be hubs outside of these different like flow shoals they call them, where the information would be like stored up, and then the equivalent of like a mail carrier, like ships would get that information and then fly to their next destination, and then they could sort of like disperse it. And so that was pretty cool. So it'd be kind of fun to be able to play with stuff like how we are now. Everything is so connected here on our planet in real life. So this sort of gives you like a little bit of leeway with being able to do that thing where people can be cut off, and it could be interesting. Okay, so next up is medicine. Our advanced medical technologies and expertise was lost during the Exodus. To help offset a scarcity of medical supplies and knowledge, the technicians we call riggers create basic organ and limb replacements, and the menders are an order of sworn healers who preserve our medical knowledge and train new generations of caregivers. So this is one that I kind of like struggled with picking just one. So I ended up picking, I think, and I don't know if I should stick, maybe I'll change this at the last second. I ended up picking the last two options. So the one with the riggers and the one with the menders. So, because it would be cool to have this sort of like underground body part world, scene. Scene's probably not the right word, but you know what I mean. That sounds interesting to me. But then the thing with the menders is like it seems so set up. Because like let's read the thing about the menders. Advanced care is usually available only within the larger settlements, but even remote communities are often served by a novice mender. Some menders are travelers who offer preventative care and respond to emergencies in isolated communities. That's fine. That could be another guild tied to a different founder clan. But if you look at the one above it about the riggers, much was lost in the Exodus, and what remains of our medical technologies and expertise is co-opted by the privileged and powerful, which I like. And let's say those privileged and powerful are using the menders for their own people. And then everybody else, for most, advanced medical care is simply out of reach. When someone suffers a grievous injury, they'll often turn to a rigger for a makeshift mechanical solution. So I kind of liked combining those two. I think I'll stick to what I did. So you've got the menders who are probably very skilled and powerful and highly connected, and then you've got people sort of having to come up with these like jury rigged solutions, and tying the menders to a powerful house could be kind of cool. So it's a potentially something there. But then at the same time, like the medical truths is not like I don't think I'm gonna run my game all around that, but we'll see. But I thought they were pretty interesting. Okay, AI, artificial intelligence. This is a tough one too, because I was prepping to run Stars Without Number for my quote unquote in person, but lately online group, and that had a lot of cool AI stuff in it, about like rogue AIs, and basically if you don't break an AI, like put the equivalent of like a governor on it, they'll just go insane and like every time. So I had been reading a lot about that and thinking of ideas for that and stuff. So here, let's do the AI here in this game. We no longer have access to advanced computer systems. Instead, we must rely on the specialists we call adepts. And Rob, I'll just tell you right now, no, I just didn't want to do that. Um, that's another one that was just too much of a step into the science fantasy thing that I'm wanting to do right now. Other times I'd love to do science fantasy. I like weird science stuff, but for this I'm kind of thinking, um, you know, Expanse, Alien, like that kind of vibe, more than anything. The other two AI options are: the vestiges of advanced machine intelligence are coveted and wielded by those in power, which is pretty cool, which is the one I chose. And I'll tell you the last one. Artificial consciousness emerged in the time before the Exodus, and sentient machines live with us here in the Forge. I didn't want to do that one because that's just kind of like Star Wars, where every droid and robot, are they all droids? I assume they're all droids. They all have personalities. Like C-3PO's completely sentient, right? Like, um, and that's just, I didn't want that. And then, so the one I picked, much of our AI technology was lost in the Exodus. What remains is under the control of powerful organizations and people, and is often wielded as a weapon or deterrent. The rest of us must make do with primitive systems, and that's cool. So that gives you just enough if I need it. If I need to have a crazy AI or a powerful AI, you can kind of go to it, but it's not going to be like ubiquitous, which is I don't want to, and I don't want to like say the thing with the adepts, the first choice. I just don't like. I don't totally understand that one, and I'm thinking it's like in my head. I'm sort of thinking it's either like a combination, like was it in that Tom Cruise movie? What is it called? Where they can he could see the crimes before they're committed. I think it's a Philip K. Dick story. I'm blanking. Oh, Minority Report. Didn't that have the people? Oh, I think I'm thinking of Battlestar Galactica. But anyways, like you see in some science fiction, the people who are like in beds of liquid with a bunch of things on their heads, and then they're basically like psychics, and it's just too much. I'm just not in the mood for that. So we're gonna go with the rich and powerful have AI, and so I like the quest starter on this one. You receive a covert message from an AI held by a powerful leader. It is a plea for help. What does it ask of you? That sounds pretty cool. I probably wouldn't go for that as my quest starter, but I do like that. Maybe to drop that in somewhere at some point. Okay, let's go to war. What did I pick for war? Okay, it's another faction thing. Okay, so war. Here in the Forge, resources are too precious to support organized fighting forces or advanced weaponry. Second option, those few with the ability to pay can call on the Legion, a guild of powerful soldiers, to defend or expand their holdings. The rest of us are on our own. And the last one is war never ends. Talented weaponsmiths and shipwrights craft deadly high-tech tools of destruction. Dominant factions build mighty fleets and battle-hardened troops. So I picked I picked the middle one with the Legion, and that's again I think I sort of gravitated to these. It seems like after I got it in my head to tie them to the founder clans, I think that's what I'm doing is I'm gravitating towards the choices that have these sort of built-in groups that would fit into their own faction. So the Legion deploys skilled fighting forces and well-equipped starships on demand, but their service always comes at a dire cost. And the members of the Legion are mercenaries who hold no loyalty except to the highest bidder. So, yeah, that's cool. It's another faction. Imagine the Hunters Guild going against the Legion, and then like the Heralds getting in the middle of it. You can come up with some cool stuff. The quest starter for the Legion for that war choice is pretty cool. It's interesting. A detachment of the Legion was sent to put down a rebellion on a mining settlement. Instead of following their orders, the soldiers now stand with the miners. What forced this sudden reversal? What will you do to aid these renegades as the full force of their former cohorts are arrayed against them? That sounds rad. That sounds pretty cool. Okay, so that's my war one. 3 more left. So we've got life forms. This is a perilous and often inhospitable galaxy, but life finds a way. Many sites and planets are infested by dreadful Forge spawn. These aberrant creatures threaten to overrun other life in the galaxy. I hope I didn't pick that one. No, I didn't pick that one. So that's another one that's just too like. I think I'm turned off by when there's these um, Forge spawn, balefire, like these words that are like loaded words, made up words for the setting. Like I'd rather sort of come to those terms on my own through kind of a more like pedestrian route. And the last one, Life in the Forge, was seeded and engineered by the Essentia, ancient entities who enact their inscrutable will on this galaxy. I don't think I liked that one. I didn't like the name Essentia. Um, I guess they sort of sound like the engineers from the Alien universe, but um, I don't know. I really didn't like the name, I guess. So I did the one that this is a perilous and often inhospitable galaxy, but life finds a way. Life in the Forge is diverse. Planets are often home to a vast array of creatures, and our starships cruise with spaceborne life forms riding their wake. Even animals from our home world, carried aboard the Exodus ships, have adapted to live with us in the Forge. Now, I picked that one, but I don't think I'm crazy about the. I know there's a. I printed out the cards for this, and sleeved them and stuck them with playing cards. Um, I think one of the pets you can have, or like an asset you can have, is like a space whale that like floats in the like your ship's space exhaust or whatever. And yeah, I'm not gonna use that. So, but it's cool. I could see some people being real excited for that, but I don't know. Like, what was the Blades in the Dark? Oh no, not Blades in the Dark. So in the oh god, Lady Blackbird, which is sort of set. I think what's set in the Blades in the Dark world, but like in the future from that world, had those cool like space squid leviathan things that you could encounter as you're flying between these like sort of space moats, like um, and that's cool there. But here, I don't know. Maybe they'll turn up at some point, but like. But anyways, I think I picked this one though because the other two were sort of heavily the Ford Spawn thing I didn't like, or the Essentia. So that was sort of like I was left with that one. Okay, so then we get to the Precursors. Over eons, a vast number of civilizations rose and fell within the Forge. Today, the folks we call grubs, scavenger crews, and audacious explorers delve into the mysterious monuments and ruins of those ancient beings. It's a lot of stuff for one one option. The second one, the Ascendancy, an advanced spacefaring empire, once ruled the entirety of the Forge. Vaults of inscrutable purpose are all that remain to mark the Ascendancy's legacy, but those places are untethered from our own reality. I think. Oh, I thought I chose that one. And the last one, the biomechanical life forms we call the remnants, engineered by civilizations as weapons in a cataclysmic war, survived the death of their creators. So what did I pick? I'm trying to figure this out. Life forms. Oh no. Sorry, precursors. Grub scavengers explore different strange vaults from various old. So this is my notes. So I picked the first one. Incomprehensible technologies, inexorable time. Jeez, maybe I shouldn't read. And the strange energies of the Forge have corrupted the vaults of the Precursors. Despite the perils, grubs scour those places for useful resources and discoveries. But some secrets are best left buried, and many have been lost to the forsaken depths of the vault. So I think I just sort of picked it. I like the idea of scavengers and sort of space archaeology, sci-fi archaeology stuff. I think that was that, because I think I just didn't like the other options more than, that happens sometimes. So I wasn't crazy about the biomechanical life forms called the remnants, and the thing with the ascendancy. That's also another. It's like, it to me, it's like a lot of implied backstory. That isn't like he's not giving it to you. He's not like making you use some kind of backstory, but I'm just not interested in like. I guess that since it's named and it didn't jump out at me, then it's just like I'm not interested in doing it. But anyways, yeah. So there's weird vaults out there. So that's gonna be like dungeon crawls, like cool, interesting dungeon crawls. And we're getting to the. This is the last one, horrors. This is a pretty easy one to pick. Put enough alcohol in a spacer and they'll tell you stories of ghost ships crewed by vengeful undead. It's nonsense. Or, most insist that horrors aren't real. Spacers know the truth. And then finally, the strange energies of the Forge give unnatural life to the dead. The Soulbinders are an organization sworn to confront these horrified entities. And I picked Spacers Know About Horrors, which is, I guess, the second one. So I really thought I was going to pick the first one. So let's see. The second one says, when you travel the depths of the Forge, be wary. Death is not always the end to our suffering. Some say we are cursed by those who did not survive the Cataclysm, and the veil between life and death is forever weakened. Supernatural occurrences and entities are especially common near a white dwarf star. These stellar objects, which spacers call ghost lights, are the decaying remnants of a dead star. Yeah, I don't know why I picked that one over the first one. The first one says, within the Forge, space and time are as mutable and unstable as a flooding river. When reality can't be trusted, we are bound to encounter unsettling phenomena. See, I'm kind of thinking I might change what I originally picked. I love horror and my space stuff. I got a ton of Mothership modules and books. And I have the Alien RPG. And I'm going to have for sure go down the horror route. But I'm fine. I think I'm fine with it to sort of being a thing. I picked the one where it's like spacers know the truth, but I'm sort of feeling like I like I like it more if it's sort of like you don't believe it until you actually see it. So the quest starter for the first horror one is you receive urgent distress calls from a ship stranded in the event horizon of a black hole. The ship itself is broken apart, a shattered hull trailing debris. There's no signs of life, and yet the ghostly message persists. That's cool. That's like an easy, like I can probably just grab a mothership like 2-page adventure and sort of like in those have cool spaceship maps and stuff. And then the starter for the second one that I originally picked, Spacers Know the Truth. A group of settlers established a home in an abandoned orbital station under the light of a white dwarf star. The previous inhabitants were killed in a raider attack years ago, but it seems the dead do not rest there. The people are plagued by constant mechanical issues, strange noises, and unsettling visions. Now, that's actually pretty cool. So I think I picked that one off of that quest starter. But for the most part, I think I'm just gonna play it like I'm not gonna do. I don't think I'll do like straight up like space zombies, unless it's like they've got a space parasite or something in them. But yeah, there's definitely gonna be horror. So that's it for the truce. The next thing I would have to do is create my character, and I don't have a character sheet ready or set up, and I want to like take my time to sort of pick the assets and stuff. So I'll just do that next time, and then after that, let me go back to the index really quick to see what. And then I think it's the sector creation probably. Okay, so then so we create our character. And I think I started to create a character up until the picking the assets card part, but a while back when this first came out, or the Kickstarter first launched. But yeah, I'll do that next time. And then building a starting sector, I'm super tempted to use sectors without number, the sort of like a sector generator for stars without number, but it kind of works for any sci-fi RPG. But I also feel like I should give this game's sector creation like a fair shot. It's nice to just click a button and like have a huge sector created with like adventure seeds and all kinds of cool potential, but um, I'll kind of read ahead and see what it looks like, and if it's fairly doable and not too tough up. I'll try to stick to just the book stuff. So, all right, folks, that's it. So thanks for watching. Hopefully, I'll be back soon in a couple of days, in a few days, and we'll make that character and then get to playing, get to actually playing, to see what it's like to play a solo RPG, because I've never actually done it. I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think I really have. I've prepared. I got another solo RPG in the mail today called Amending, and it looks rad. It's like a sewing one, so it's a cloth map. Came with a needle and a bunch of different thread and a bunch of cards, kind of like for the Queen, where they're like leading questions, and um, I don't even know how to sew, but let's do this one first. Let's try to do Starforged. All right, so thanks for watching, folks, and I'll see you all next time.